Welcome everybody. So today I'm going to bring you guys a brand new guilty pleasure review, and this is going to be for Assassin's Creed. So this is the movie that is a Michael Fassbender powerhouse. This features Michael Fassbender as well as a variety of different cast of characters. This movie is one of my favorite movies that I like to kind of just sit around and watch just because I'm a fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise. I think if you're a fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise, you're going to find a lot to like about this movie, as well as a lot of things that don't really quite make sense. So let's get to the things that don't really make sense. The things that don't make sense is why they keep coming back to the Abstergo Industries laboratory, kind of showing more of that place when we kind of already know within the film that this movie kind of takes place both in the real world as in the past. This movie features this device that you kind of like, it's a giant arm that comes down and grapples onto Michael Fassbender's character and lifts him up, and then there's this device that shoots in the back of his neck and kind of transports him back through time. And then that's kind of what sets the event in this film. It's against the assassins and the Templars, and they're looking for the Apple of Eden, which is this device that supposedly will help them, in order to regain control of people that like to cause violence and stuff, which doesn't make sense because in the games it was kind of like a holy relic that could, make multiple versions of you and stuff, and it was kind of like a link between the aliens in the past as well as the current generation of humans, considering in the games that whole storyline was about, the Apple of Eden basically being a device that helped kind of enslave humanity with the gods. And in this movie, they don't really mention that at all. They kind of mention that, there was a race of humans and stuff, or a race of beings that came in the past, but they don't really go full in depth to that like Assassin's Creed did in the games. I really liked that portion because I thought it was kind of cool because it tied into the whole ancient aliens theme and the things going on throughout history where these gods kind of came down and kind of like helped us through a calamity, which is what the games were about. That date being December 21st, 2012, which already makes the games outdated at this point. But I really like the Assassin's Creed games. I played them crap ton as a kid. It was always cool to go to these like exotic places and kind of experience life from a different perspective and see like people walking around in giant cities and stuff and have the ability to free roam. And you get a little bit of that in these movies. You see the Spanish Inquisition as it's going on in the first couple of acts of the film, and you get to see sort of like the battles going on. In fact, that they raid a village at one point and see this prince that's captured and everything. That storyline doesn't really come across later on through the end of the film. It's just one of those things that ends up happening, which is kind of annoying because it's a plot hole that doesn't get resolved from the first act. I think there's a lot of that in this movie. There's a lot of plot holes and stuff that happens. And you're like, whoa, how does that tie into the overall arc of the characters? And a lot of this movie is left on the chopping block in terms of, Michael Fassbender's character trying to form like an assassins unit, kind of like in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, where he's trying to train new assassins and stuff. And that's all kind of put on the behind the scenes, the special features disc portion of the movie. You kind of see a little bit of that, which would have been cool to see in this movie, him kind of forming a team, which is why they kind of rally up at the end and, kind of go against Abstergo, because Abstergo Industries has always been in these movies and the game the bad guys. So if you're going into this thinking that Abstergo is some sort of like company that's doing the greater good for the assassins or the Templars, you're mistaken, because the Templars have always been the bad guys within these movies. Now, whether or not that was true in historical accuracy is anybody's guess, but within the context of this film, the assassins are always the good guys and the Templars are always the bad guys. That's pretty much all you need to know. And it was really cool to see some of the elements of the game come into live action. You got the hidden blade that has a little knife that kind of like ejects out. And you can kind of retract it back into the glove compartment within, and it's not the whole like Altair thing where you kind of have to chop off a finger in order to put the blade in, like you see in the first game. It's kind of that hole that's built into the glove, kind of like Ezio's was in the Assassin's Creed 2 up until Revelations in Assassin's Creed 3. I think Ezio is one of my favorite assassins, so it's kind of lame that they didn't kind of put Ezio in there at all, even as a cameo. It would have been cool. In that scene where you see like all the assassins kind of line up, then maybe Ezio was one of those ones that was in there, but you don't really see that as kind of all the members of his ancestry. And in the games, that scene would have been, the reveal of the alien creatures that kind of resembled kind of like humans, but that came down to kind of help shape humanity and help stop the pending apocalypse. But that's nowhere to be seen in the film, which kind of annoyed me because I'm like, the whole alien element was kind of like the what the F. When you're playing the game and you find out that's what happens in Assassin's Creed 2, I was kind of like, what the F? Like, why did they put this in there? That's kind of crazy because you think the games are about the historical accuracy and stuff, and this is also a fictional world. So I do applaud Michael Fassbender for taking on this role of trying to actually make a really great movie. Now, I know that this movie is not perfect. I know that there's flaws. They stray away from the game, which they seem to behind the scenes that they kind of had to do in order to make this an interesting movie. And I understand that, and I kind of don't fault them for that at all. I think it's kind of cool to see some of the practical parkour stuff, because in a movie like this, you could have gone full CGI with it and it just wouldn't look that as good. I like that they kind of hired people that kind of knew what they were doing in the parkour realm to kind of take over. One of the guys that is the stunt double for Michael Fassbender is this really big, famous, guy that's been in sort of other movies as well, and is kind of like a big YouTuber who I forget his name, but you can look him up online and you'll see some of his older videos. And this guy is really good at what he does, and I really do like the fact that they picked him up, because they could have picked up David Bell or somebody like that, but they picked this guy out of the crowd because he's been in movies before and he can actually act and stuff. And he's done some crazy things where he's like leaked over a Formula One car as it's kind of driven by, and I thought that was pretty sweet. He's done some pretty crazy stuff like that in the past, and it just gives more credence to the role that he's playing in Assassin's Creed. Marion Cotillard, or however you say her last name, she does a really good job. She kind of plays the Lucy character in the game. Lucy was always helping out Desmond Miles in the games and eventually breaks him free, which this character doesn't really do, but she kind of does help him out in the way, because she starts to see that maybe the corporation that she's working for isn't actually doing the greater good that she once thought they were doing. And so she kind of changes sides halfway through, and you kind of see that with the formation of the assassins that are there in Abstergo, and eventually they kind of break out, and it's kind of like that scene from the first game where they break out and they have kind of cool fight and stuff, as well as the second game. So as a fan of this game, knowing kind of what happens throughout all the series of the games, I really do think it was a great movie. I don't know why not too many people didn't go see this in theaters, didn't support this, because this could have been a really cool franchise that could have tied into the events of the first couple of Assassin's Creed games. And movies that are based off video games tend to get that sort of stigma about them that movie-based games are not that good, or that they're not that entertaining, that they're always crap, and that the stories are always crap and stuff, and that they don't stay true to the stories. This one did, and I think if you're a fan of the game, you should give this one sort of a chance to entertain you, because it really did entertain me in the end, and I thought this was a really fantastic movie. It's definitely not great, it's definitely not an A+ movie, but I do give it sort of a B. I don't think it deserves a C rating just because movie critics don't think it's an entertaining movie. I had a fun time with it, but that's my opinion. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I know I'm kind of rambling on for like 8 minutes now, so probably a good time to sign off on this. So as always, guys, rate, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next video. Peace.